Okay, hip external rotation, PAILS and rails. This is my favorite way to target that range of motion for a stretch to create the expansion we need in the hip. Just as a reminder, when we assessed your hip, we were looking at internal rotation, how far out the foot can go away from your body, and then external rotation, which is how far inward your foot can go, this direction. Okay, so what we're going to do is try to find a stretch for you that gets you into this position that you can hold. So what we're going to do, we're going to do this in a quadruped position here. This is where my hands and knees are right on the ground, hands beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips. If I'm going to do my right hip here, I'm going to first straighten out my left leg like so. I'm then going to take my right foot and bring it across, take it into the external rotation there, as far as I possibly can without moving the rest of my body. So watch that again. I go inward here. I don't like twist into it or tilt into it much. I just move my hip across my hip in rotation to take my foot across the body. I then take my left knee and put it right on the back side of that ankle. And I suggest you do this with the video here, just so you can kind of get that range of motion down. And then we allow that knee to go down to the ground, and that gives me sometimes just a decent stretch right here in that hip. If it doesn't, if you need a little more, if you need a deeper stretch in this position, what you can do is kind of sit back. So I kind of sit back at a 45-degree angle to get that right hip a little more stretched. Usually that gives you enough of a stretch in that hip to actually have some sort of an effect. From here, we hold for 2 minutes. So 2-minute stretch, 10-second ramp up, 10-second PAIL, 10-second rail. My PAILS contraction, and I'll turn so you can kind of see this, is going to be driving this right foot into my left knee. So if my left knee was not there, I'd be doing this motion. So when my left knee is there, as I start to do my PAILS contraction, I'm squeezing this backside of my hip, trying to rotate my foot into the knee, but obviously the knee is preventing that motion from happening. So I'm squeezing as hard as I can, ramping up tension all the way to 100%, max effort for 10 seconds. I then switch after that 10-second PAILS, and then my foot tries to go up and in. So I try to lift my foot up and inward, squeezing the inside of this part of the hip as hard as I can for 10 seconds. So again, PAILS pushing down and into the knee. If my knee was not there, I'd be doing this motion. So my PAILS is pushing down. My rails is then trying to pull up. As I'm doing all this motion, or as I'm doing these contractions at least, I'm trying to keep this part of my spine, this part of my hip completely fixed as well, making sure that I'm not compensating to achieve more motion. After a rep, and I should show this too, after a rep, so let's say I've done a rep, I pushed my foot out, I pulled it up, I can then adjust the stretch based off of pulling this knee up a little bit. So the farther up this knee goes, the more stretch I get, the deeper I can target that hip. You don't have to push that too far into the stretch now. At least the first time you've done it, I want you to progress to that point and try to slowly work up to that deeper and deeper range.